Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes podcast. My name is Audrey. I am a knitwear designer from the southwest of France, and this is a podcast where I talk about all of my yarny related crafts. So hi, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for this new episode. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying the end of summer-ish. I have a lot of things to share for this episode. It's a little bit of a avalanche. Oh my god, you say avalanche? Yes, you do. I think. Snow thing. Snowball. Lots and lots of lace. Lots of neutral grey things. And lots of designs that I have been releasing in the past few weeks. So yeah, there's a few odd bits here and there. But yeah, it's gonna be quite varied. So I hope you will enjoy, and I will start right away. So you can find timestamps to the different sections of the podcast in the description down below. So if you want to skip anything, find a project that you want to check out. This is all in the description. I also put links to everything that I talk about, the patterns and the yarns that I will be mentioning, as well as my social media, my pattern shops on Ravelry, Payhip and Lovecrafts, as well as my Patreon page if you would like to support my work and have access to some behind the scenes content. So yeah, are you ready? I think I'm going to go, I have 3 new patterns to show, so I think I'm going to go backwards and start with the one that I'm wearing, which is the newest one that I just released on Ravelry and Payhip, and it is the Pallene sweater. And yay, it's a mid-season little lace jumper, which is all over lace, so it's kind of meant to be worn over something else. Here I'm wearing a tank top, which is maybe not the best because it's like a racerback, so you really see. I don't mind so much over dresses or other options as well. But yeah, so you knit it bottom up. So you start here at the hem and then you knit this lace motif, which is on the back as well. And so you basically have a set of different types of patterns. You have these two, which are like the sort of more basic ones. And then you have this front main piece, which is adjusted a little bit differently depending on the sizes. You have 2 different charts, one for the first set of sizes and one for the largest set of sizes, which makes them slightly different so that it's proportionate, sort of, but it looks the same. And you have this motif here, sort of arrow shaped, this little eyelet thing, and then the main front panels, which are this reverse stockinette triangles, which are technically the other way around, but I kind of preferred the reverse stockinette ones. So yeah, bottom up in the round until the armholes. You split for the front and the back. You shape the neckline, which is, as you can see, a rather open one. It's really meant to be thrown over something else. And you maintain the lace as you decrease for the neckline. You do some short row shaping on the shoulders and you stop the lace here so that it's a little bit easier, right? Then you 3 needle bind off and you pick up stitches around the sleeves to knit them in the round downwards. I made mine 3/4 length, but as for most of my designs, this is really easy to adjust. You can check the measurements and compare them to another design or to a garment that you own that you like the fit of. And you can adjust the ease, you can adjust the body length, the sleeve length. You can also even adjust the sleeve circumference. So I recommend to have some ease, especially because it's lace. You don't really want it to be like snug and stretched over you. That's what I think, but if you do, fine. That's great. But I personally grade patterns with a rule, which is I absolutely hate snug sleeves. So I do plan for a bit of ease on the upper arm, and if that doesn't suit you, you can totally like attach a sleeve circumference to another body size. So let's say you're making, I don't know, body size 6, but you notice that the upper arm measurements doesn't really suit your taste or body shape. You have thinner arms compared to the standard, which is not a thing, so it might happen. You pretty much, once you split for the underarm here, you can start actually following size 4 or 5, whichever suits you best, and you make the sleeves for that other size that you like the measurements of. So yeah, this is why I like simple shapes, especially when there's so much going on, right? I like to make fun motifs in simple shaping. So you can easily adjust to what you like. You can make long sleeves, shorter sleeves as well if you like. Longer body, mine is cropped as per usual. And yeah, you have some stockinette here at the sides, just a little bit. And that's how it is. And yeah, so in terms of difficulty, it's more how long it takes to knit, right? Which is kind of part of difficulty, I think. If you're a beginner, you may not want to be happy with a project that takes so long for you to accomplish something, right? But the lace motifs themselves are very simple. It's basic stitches. They're charted only, but as you can see, it's like making very clear lines, and it's very short repeats. It's only 8 rows, so it's really easy to memorize or to keep track of. You're very unlikely to mess up. And yeah, the 2 little things is that perhaps here where you're on the upper body, you do need to make some patterning on the wrong side rows, but it's fairly simple eyelets and decreases that you see where you need to make them, and you've been doing the motif for so long before that you're fine. And you need to maintain the lace a little bit as you decrease for the neck. But I had, as usual, testers of a variety of skill levels with lace, and all of them were fine. They're, like I said, fairly simple lace motifs. You just need to have the motivation to knit an all-over lace pullover, which is the only, I would say, obstacle really, because it is knitted at a rather dense gauge. It's 27 stitches per 10 centimeter gauge. You can use any fingering weight you like, whether it's wool based, like your basic merino, even sock based yarn will work fantastically, and you can also use plant based blends. So the yarn that I used is a cotton and linen blend from the Woolly Skin, which is a French indie dyer from Lyon. Unfortunately, she does not carry the yarn this year. It's a bit difficult to get plant-based yarns for dyers. So yeah, equivalents could be something like Holzgarn Coast, which is a linen and cotton blend, the Biobalance by BC Garn, which is a woolen cotton blend, things that have a little bit of drape, basically, but not too much. You don't want too much drape because it might end up distorting itself and sag with time. So the pure alpaca things I would stay away from. But that's just my personal opinion and preference. Besides that, as long as it doesn't have too much weight, you're pretty much good to go with any fingering weight yarn that you like the feel and the drape and the definition of. And yeah, so I think that covers all that I wanted to say. You have these little faux eyelets, fake eyelets, little things that are really easy to do. And yeah, so easy to modify shape for those who like to work lace and to invest some time in a project. And I really hope you like it. I'm really proud of it. And yeah, I think I'm gonna get lots of wear out of it because it's really comfy, and I really like to have lighter garments that I can just put on and off during the September, October. November is still warm here where I live, except this year is weird. But yeah, and for next year's spring as well. So yeah, that's it for the Pallene sweater. I don't even remember why I named it like this. I'm the worst. But yeah, if you like it, it is now available on Ravelry and Payhip, and there is a little release discount code on Ravelry. It is 15% off with the code Pallene until the Sunday of the release. So yes, that's it. I think I didn't forget anything. I'm always confused, especially since I recorded the French podcast prior to this, and no, you can stay there. I don't need you yet. And I got really distracted because my brother is live commenting his experience watching the new, not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon thing, and he's apparently upset because it's wyverns and not dragons or something like this, or the opposite, I don't know. I think he's just making things up at this point, but seems to like it nevertheless. I am waiting for it to be completely released because I'm that really obnoxious generation who just wants the show to come all at once, because like I don't have the patience to start watching it and then wait, but I have the patience for it to be completed before I start, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? But that's how we are. Enough shenanigans. Going back in time, more grey. I warned you, it's very grey. Very grey episode. Last week, I released this really nice shawl. So, this is Dittany, which I also forgot why I named it like this. It's a plant. This is a shawl in collaboration with Anna from Lana Tricot, which has a yarn shop in Grenoble in France, in the mountains, middle area of France. And she contacted me earlier this summer to ask if I wanted to collaborate for the birthday of her yarn shop. So every September she celebrates the birthday of her yarn shop and she organizes a little event. And she asked me if I wanted to create a shawl for the event using Montelimar, because the theme of her birthday was yarns from Spain and Portugal, because Anna herself is from a Spanish heritage, like me, except she actually speaks Spanish, not like me. But she wanted to see if we can make something out of Wool Dreamers Montelimar. And so Wool Dreamers is a Spanish brand. They have a variety of yarns. They actually kindly sent me a bunch of different blends that I'm eager to try. But maybe their best known one is Montelimar, which is an unspun type of yarn made out of Spanish merino. So I really like this. I don't have a ton of experience working with unspun yarns, right? I have done some swatches in Plotulopy, and I have a sweater, almost completed sweater in Nutiden. And out of all of the unspun yarn, I much preferred knitting with Montelimar. So Montelimar, it's already wound, using other words. Montelimar comes in cakes that are already 2 strands together. When you're using unspun yarns, you often want to hold it double, either with itself or with a strand of lace weight, more hair. Sometimes you even want to hold it triple. So yeah, you kind of have to hold 2 cakes at once and make your own bowl. But Montelimar already is 2 strands coming out of the cake, and I love this. It makes it much easier. It didn't break as easily. You kind of have to get the hang of working with unspun yarns, and it's not perhaps something that I will ever completely fall in love with, but I found that with Montelimar it was much smoother, and I really like that. It's also a lot softer. So if you're someone who doesn't like the feel of the Nutiden or the Plottilopi, which are more very woolly, very rustic, whatever this means, yarns, try Montelimar, because even if it's obviously natural non-superwash merino, but it's still merino, so it's a finer type of yarn, and it is so squishy and soft, and it's really nice. And it blooms beautifully. So we made a shawl with 2 cakes of Montelimar, so it's under 500 meters of yarn. It's like 400 and something. And it is a crescent shape shawl which you're knitting sideways. I do really like knitting my shawls sideways, you might have noticed. Especially because here it allows you to completely control the size of the shawl and how much yarn you use. So technically you can knit this with any gauge, because you start at the tip here, you cast on for the border, and you increase for this textured border, which is made of really simple texture. This is both charted and written, so it's really beginner friendly. You have some slipped stitches on the edges, very simple cables, 4 stitched cables, and you have this sort of half brioche rib, right? Slight brioche, but not completely. And there's a video tutorial showing you exactly how to do this. And it's only 2 rows, it's really simple. And so yeah, really beginner friendly with the video, written instructions and all. And once you have set the border, you start increasing here for the main body of the shawl, which is in stockinette. And you increase. Once you have reached the desired depth of your crescent-shaped shawl, or once you have used about 1/3 of your yarn, you can start knitting straight. And the pattern instructs you, once you finish increasing, right, you weigh your yarn, so you know how much yarn you used here. So let's say I used about 50 grams. Then I can knit straight until I have 50 grams left, and I just need to do the reverse and decrease until the other point. And that's it. So you can use different amounts of yarn. You can make your shawl way deeper if you prefer. You can use thinner yarns, anything, it will actually work. The Montelimar, it's technically a DK weight yarn, but because it's unspun and it blooms so much, my gauge is 12 stitches per 10 centimeter, which is more of a Aran/Bookie weight, right, gauge. Let's see how it bloomed. I worked it on 6mm needles, which I think is US 10, I think. But yeah, you can make it at a different gauge if that's what you prefer. Also will look really good with more hair, things like this. But yes, here is Dittany. So it's available on Ravelry and Payhip, and you can find Montelimar. I think there is an American retailer, because I've seen some people on Instagram who are in the US use Montelimar, so there must be an American retailer for wool dreamers. But yeah, I highly recommend that you try it if you can get your hands on it. I do plan to use some more, because when I will want to experiment with unspun, I think this is the one that I will prefer. And yeah, you can also make colorwork with it. I've seen colorwork swatches that are beautiful. But see, the advantage of making sideways shawl is that I can have something that is not too shallow and long enough to be comfortably, like I could even make a knot here if you're someone who knots your shawl like this. And it's so cozy, and yeah, it works really well, and it makes a really nicely sized shawl with only 2 kicks. So it's 460 meters exactly, I think. 2 kicks of Manchelopi. But yeah, like I said, any amount of yarn. You could also make it much thinner and have like a really fine scarf. That would be nice as well. With just mostly the border. You could even just make the border. I mean, if you like the border, why not? But yeah, you have also on the top some slipped stitches and garter stitch for the edge. And voila, for Dittany. So, are you tired of grey patterns yet? Because there's one more, and there's a plain. Landing. The Montelimar socks I have published in the middle of August. That's kind of the downside of releasing less podcast episodes, is that yes, it's fun because I have lots of things to share, but I have lots of things to share. So if you're someone who gets stressed when you get bombarded with things, yeah. I think I will have to keep making roughly 1 episode a month for a little while. Maybe longer than I expected because exciting things may be happening. But yeah, it means that lots of things. In the middle of August, I released these little lace socks, which I really like making, especially as an easy, breezy project. So these are simple lace socks using a stitch motif from a shawl that I published back in June, the Pirula shawl. So this is a really simple, basic lace motif, which is charted only in this design, and it's really fun to work because, as you can see, you have like sort of marks which are really motivating because you want to reach the next one. And yeah, so cuff down. As usual, 2 different heels. You can work a heel flap and gusset, or you can work a short row heel as well. And yeah, the lace is all over the leg. There are different charts for each size so that it fills up the same amount of space. And yeah, I used Filcolana Arweta, which is a Danish brand, and it's their merino nylon sock base, which I really like. It's soft, it has nice colors, it has good definition, and this is the colorway Marzipan, which I think in English you use to describe what is 2 different things. But in any case, it's almond stuff, and it just made me think of nougat and Montelimar, which is the city in France where they make nougat, and which is why these are called Montelimar. So yeah, I hope you like it. These are just a little simple socks, and yeah, I do have a plan for lots of socks for next year, which will be more colorful than this. But yeah, that's it for all the pattern releases that I needed to catch up on. And if you're tired of, actually you can stay there. If you're tired of all the grays and all the lace and all the, well, the lace, some more lace, but all the grays and all the pattern propaganda, well, now here's a colorful treat. Because I finished my Rosenlund top, which is a pattern by Sally Nordlund, which I had shown you in the previous episode, and I think I had almost finished it. But here it is completed. And yeah, I believe I've told you, I really enjoyed knitting with this. It's really fun. Simple tank top with the lace motif on the front, bits of cabling, and some moss stitch on the side and twisted ribbing edges. Really fun to work. It's like the perfect thing that catches some of my attention but not too much, and it's really engaging, and I absolutely love the result. It's beautiful. I will insert here video of me twirling in it because I'm not going to bother changing now, but I will put a video of me wearing it so that you can see how it fits. So I made size 3, but my gauge was slightly tighter than the patterns because the yarn that I use is sport weight, whereas the pattern called for DK, and this means that I knitted size 3 to obtain a measurement that was between size 2 and 3 in reality. And I really like the fit of it. It works really well for me. The only thing perhaps that is not exactly right is at the back, because the upper back is straight, there's no curve for the back neck, so it tends to raise a little bit along the back of my neck, but that's like really faint detail, and because I have 6 kilos of hair anyway, it's not really a problem, right? But just so you know, in case you have that thing, like some people have shoulders that don't really that may accentuate this. So if you know that you really like having a curve at the back of the neck, just a heads up that you might want to implement it. I didn't want to bother really, but I also think that with the weight of the tank top, it will eventually drop with time. And yeah, Sari Notlun, she wears it over dresses and t-shirts as well, which I think is really nice. And I don't think I have outfits that will work with this, but I kind of want to enjoy wearing it a little bit more, even though it's still 35 degrees here. So I don't know why I'm saying what I'm saying, because I'm probably going to wear this until December. That's it. Problems. I mean, 35 is fine because we had several weeks of over 40, which was not fine. And I'm talking Celsius, obviously. Everyone is in pain, I know. You don't need to hear me whine more about it. But yeah, I used Landless Summerside, which is the yarn I love. I love everything. I'm very enthusiastic in this episode. I love everything. Well, I know that there are some people who seem to knit things that they don't enjoy. I'm not one of those. So yeah, it will be a positive vibe episode, I guess. I really like this. Look at the drape, look at the definition. It's beautiful. It's a blend of cotton and silk in this beautiful red. And I like it a lot. And yeah, so that's it for the Rosenloom top, which I believe will be the last of my summer knits. I am going to move on to more autumny projects. I'm waiting on some pattern release, like a pattern release that I'm planning to knit soon. Once you watch this episode, I will probably have started it because I think it releases early September. But in the meantime, I have a work in progress. No, you don't do that. A new work in progress, which is a crochet and knitting hybrid thingy. This is a Wool Bags project bag. It's a French maker, which uses lots of cute little fabrics. So this is the Urban Folk Shawl by Atelier Émilie. And she released it, I think, at the beginning of the summer. And I really like it. I think it's really nice. There are some patterns who blend crochet and knitting, but I think it's really, how can I say? It's quite adventurous so to make it, because you risk alienating the people who only knit and the people who only crochet. And I think that this shawl is really cool because it has enough simplicity that it would appeal, I think, to most people who do any sort of fiber arts. But it also has the possibility of being really fun with the colors that you use. It's a triangular shawl that has a granny square crochet border, basically. And so I'm not a good crocheter. I made a hat, not really understanding what I was doing. I've done some crochet toys, the amigurumi, looking at photo tutorials, not really understanding what I was doing. Later I learned that there is a right side and wrong side to crochet, so yeah. I think that's the typical thing when people make amigurumi and it's the wrong side. That's me, basically. And what did I do? I also know how to make the granny, like the half crochet thing, and the granny stripes things. I started one a few years ago. It was too boring. It was a bit too plain to be working on this for me, so I undid it, and I'm using my leftovers in other ways. But that's it. I'm not very good at crochet. I want to be better. I really do, because there are so many amazing, super talented designers that do crochet patterns. Often in Pom Pom magazine, there's often crochet patterns that I like. And there's so many designers that do nice things. And I'm thinking of two in particular. The first one is lillabjorncrochet. I will link everything that I'm talking about in the description. I really like what lillabjorncrochet does. They do a lot of garments, a lot of different things, but some garments that are kind of like yokes in mosaic, colorwork, or brioche, but in crochet. And I don't mean to be demeaning towards crochet, like sort of comparing it necessarily or putting it as a byproduct of a knitting technique. It's just that I don't know the names of the techniques in crochet, so I'm comparing it to the knitting versions. But yeah, I really like what she does, because you have the interest of the color thing, you know, if it's a mosaic or brioche kind of yoke. And the fact that it's crochet, it also has the texture interest. And I think it's really creative what she does, and it's really fun. And you can make something that is really elegant depending on the colors that you choose, or that is really fun as well. And I really like some of those yoke type designs that lillabjorncrochet has. And the other designer I'm thinking about is hollywoodward. They do, like, she does really, really beautiful summery type of garments. They play a lot with texture and colors, and it's always interesting shapes as well. And it looks like those designs are a little bit more accessible than the ones from lillabjorncrochet, but like, I'm speaking from someone who doesn't know what they're doing, so it's always difficult to juggle difficulty, and eventually I'm just gonna do what I want to do. So yeah, if I want to start making a really, really intricate miniature lace thing crochet, I will. Because I can't help myself. But I do want to learn and improve on my skills a little bit. So I thought that there are many more designers that I like that do crochet things. But I just wanted to mention these two in case some of you are crocheters and you probably know about them. But that's it. I just wanted to share my appreciation for those designers. And I decided, because I loved this shawl that Atelier Emilie, which is a French designer, but she publishes her patterns in English as well. I love this shawl so much, I thought, well, you know, it's a good way for me to possibly get motivated to start crocheting more. And so I did. I did all the little granny squares. So I followed the pattern in French because the English one doesn't have as much explanations of the terminology as the French one, because that's another thing with the US and the UK crochet terminology. Excuse me, why? Why? Did you do this to spite everyone else? If you have a resource that is comprehensive and that lists which is which. I'd be happy to to see it so I can learn, because eventually I will have to learn which is which and the difference, and not mess things up in my head between the two. But here I actually chose to follow the pattern in French because there's one, only one terminology, which is the opposite of knitting, really, because knitting, there's not a standard for knitting language in French, and so lots of designers use lots of different methods and things, which can be a bit tricky. So it's actually the opposite. I did all of these. So basically you do all the little granny squares. You can change colors or not. You can just make a texture thing, you know, just one color. But I had to look at a few tutorials to know how to change colors. It's a lot of ends to weave in. But I did them as I go. So you do all the squares individually as well as the little triangles. And then you seam all of them together. And it was really fun. And at first I had a little bit of a what am I doing moment, but as soon as I was making the second square, it was smooth and kind of mindless. I was able to watch TV, watch The Sandman twice as I was doing this. So this took a season and a half of Sandman because I finished it and then I restarted it. And when I finished it the second time, they added a new bonus episode. So I was like, okay. Yes, because I wait for series to be completed before watching them, and then I actually rewatch them several times. Because issues. I rarely do this, but yeah, that was kind of exceptional. But it was really fun and really mindless, and even the seaming, I don't mind seaming. It was a bit long, but I only used like one big thread and then I wove it to sort of continuously seam this. And so basically, as you can see, it's sort of shaped as a triangle, and then I'm going to pick up stitches from here all the way to here, and then you're building the body of the shawl in garter stitch, I think. So yeah, I'm using a bunch of leftovers because when the pattern was released, there was a French dyer, Yarn by Simone, who released kits with various different colorways, and she had one which was really beautiful white and autumnal shades, and I just sort of took inspiration from that. The original design is worked with a fingering weight yarn and a lace weight mohair yarn. Didn't want to do that, didn't have the leftovers to do that, so I used a mix of leftovers. The autumnal colors, so the rusty, the ochre, the dark green, the burgundy, they're Manos del Uruguay Alpaca Heather, the leftover from a design that I worked, which is the Lenore cardigan. And blend of alpaca and wool, which I love. Not a fan of pure alpaca, except for really, really drapey shawls, but I love alpaca, which is why I love alpaca wool blends. They're so versatile, you can do anything with them, and it's lovely. And actually, all of this is an alpaca wool blend, because there's Manos del Uruguay, and then the ice blue and the white are Drops Flora, which is a yarn that I really love. So it's kind of a shame that Drops is a company I don't really like to support for their ethics choices. But they have this range. There's also Lima and Nepal, and I do really like it. It's a wool alpaca blend, which has all the advantages of both without having the disadvantages. So you can enjoy the drape and the fluffiness and the softness of alpaca and the halo without worrying about it dragging too much. And so you can also make colorwork and cables, and it looks great in this yarn. So I have quite a lot of it in my stash from a long time ago, so I'm happy to use it now in a shawl. And so this is fingering weight, while the Alpaca Heather from Manos del Uruguay, it's sport weight. Doesn't really matter. The gauge for the garter stitch shawl is 21 stitches per 10 centimeter, which I can easily get with fingering weight, especially this one, because of the alpaca, it's gonna bloom and have a nice halo and fuzz. And I thought, you know, because it's crochet, I could probably get away easily with the density not being the same between the sport weight, which is a little bit more dense and puffy, and the bits in the blue and white, which are a little bit more see-through, because it's finer yarn. I just use the same crochet hook and it works. You know, I'm not that picky for accessories, and I blended 2 different yarn weights and it works. And so yeah, the body of the shawl is gonna be white. And that's the project that I'm slowly working on at the moment, even though there's no more Sandman to watch. I'm not gonna watch it a 3rd time. Not yet. But yeah, I think that's it. That's all the projects I wanted to share. I've been a bit all over the place. But yes, that's what I've been working on. I will see you, I believe, quite quickly, in fact, because even though I'm recording this a lot in advance, I'm organizing myself in a way that I only film about once a month, but I managed to do so with still having 2 episodes. It's in September, so you will probably see me around the 20th of September, even though it would have been a long time. It's a long time from what I'm filming now. Time, scheduling, videos, it's a bit of a mess. But yes, I want to finish the vlog by talking a little bit about my Patreon page, because it's September, it's a new month. And on my Patreon page, you can join if you would like to support my business. You get access to behind the scenes content. You have the possibility to have a pattern or 2 a month of your choice in exchange for your subscription. And every month I also do a dedicated special video for Patreon. So the video is recorded in French, but I subtitle it in English. And this month the video is a design vlog of a pattern I created for a magazine. So I have a magazine in the latest Making Stories issue, which is issue 8. I will talk about this in the next episode, which is why I wanted to make 2 episodes in September and why I did the little tiny wibbly recordy stuff. So I will show you this design in the next episode. But if you would like to see how it is to create a design for a magazine and how different it is compared to when I publish it on my own, because you have to follow the guidelines for writing the patterns from the magazine, which is why if you don't like the way a pattern is written in the magazine, don't yell at the designer, because it's not they didn't choose it. And I'm lucky in the sense that Making Stories' way of writing patterns kind of fits mine as well, but it's still a different process, and I wanted to make a video about it for my Patreons, which I hope they will find interesting. So yeah, that's the video for September, and that's it. If you are interested, you can just join for Patreon. The video and the free patterns are from the 2nd level, so it's €5 per month. It's a subscription system, but it's flexible, so you can easily just hop in and then leave, get your pattern, get your things. And yeah, I want to just say a massive thank you to the people who support me on Patreon. I'm so very grateful, because it really allows me to have a sustainable approach to creating the pattern and to plan for other projects that are more time consuming as well. So yeah, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I wasn't too rambly and like sidetracked, but I think I was. But I think you're pretty used to it by now, right? Anyway, I will see you, like I said, quite soon, definitely, to show you a bunch of other things, which hopefully will not be as overwhelming as in this episode. Not sure about that. We'll see. Busy couple of months ahead, right? But yeah, I wish you a very happy rest of the day and evening. I hope you are well and take care of yourselves, and I will see you soon. Bye.